Hey everyone, it's Marie Verdugo with New You Life Center Med Spa. Yes, I really do exist. And I want to ask you one question. Are you ready for long summer days and hot summer nights? With summer vastly approaching, we at New You have the Physique, a new body treatment that was voted best non-invasive body treatment device of 2022. The Physique was selected for its unique and innovative sequential thermal and electrical pulse step technology, which alternates between deep heat and muscle stimulation in a single session. The Physique is a comfortable treatment, has the ability to target multiple areas at once, and we can customize treatment programs without any downtime. If you or anyone you know is looking to target those stubborn areas where exercise and diet have not been enough, come on over to New You and see what the hype is all about. Check us out in the Biltmore area of Phoenix, Arizona at 4515 North 16th Street, Suite 105, Phoenix, Arizona 85016, or give us a call at 602-274-0068. The results speak for itself. We're talking about hot bods this summer, everyone. So start your journey to a new you. And as always, enjoy this great podcast with my man, Evan Moody, and his best friend, Andrew Gruthius. It's Nothing Worthwhile with Moody and Groo.
Nothing Worthwhile. Mediocre podcasting. Today, tomorrow, forever.
I've been offered a tryout with Hamilton Mustangs. I gotta play junior if I'm ever gonna play pro. All the scouts are gonna be there.
Dean Youngblood scored 92 goals this year so far for the Stanton Flyers.
Get him a uniform.
The doctor is here.
New uniforms for the playoffs?
Wanna go, pretty boy? Come on.
You gotta play it according to their rules.
Maybe I made a mistake about you. What do you think?
If I don't sign a pro contract next couple of years, I'm through.
What if it had been you? What if it was you?
Wake up, superstar.
We're in this together. You're a team, a family.
You need it here, and you never quit. Ever.
Come on, Youngblood!
Rob Lowe, Cynthia Gibbs, Patrick Swayze, Youngblood.
Live from the last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network studios, It's Nothing Worthwhile presents Van Dammit, a podcast about Jean-Claude Van Damme. Here's Evan Moody and Andrew Gruthius.
Yes, I'm looking at a huge AG icon on Microsoft Games.
Does it actually say that?
Yes,
I see a blank thing.
In terms of your picture, of course, Microsoft Teams, I can't see Andrew. I'm looking at an AG icon.
Careful, we don't want to get sued by for defamation.
Yeah, well, I guess this is not an early omen of how well this show will go. Well, we are yet again back after another record-long hiatus. Howard Stern laughed at our schedule. At this point, we're putting out 120 minutes of new content every 6 weeks. Thank you, everybody.
That's about it. Look, sometimes, I mean, look, this is not our job. That's Howard's main source. That's his living. That's when he goes to work, that's where he goes. This is not our career, you know.
Yeah, well, I used to make fun of him because I'd say now Howard just goes down to the basement, and basically now I just go into the kitchen.
Or the bathroom.
Speaking of which, I know you moved into a new apartment. Where is your podcast studio set up?
Podcast studio, well, it's on the same... So I used to do it in the office, which was like basically a second bedroom.
Right.
And White Rabbit, good tune.
Oh yes,
WWE is using that. But to get back to we'll get into that. But I did it from the office at a desk. Now I moved from a 2-bedroom into a 1-bedroom, so now the desk is in the bedroom, so I'm doing it from the bedroom on the same desk. So I just kind of combined the 2 rooms.
Tell everyone how is the new Casa de la Grucius? You all moved in, comfortable? What's going on with the move?
I'm all moved in, still, staring at piles of boxes, which will be the next 3 months. But the place is, it's across town. It's in Coconut Creek, off of Lyons Road. So it's a little bit east of where I was.
Okay.
It's right near, a nice shopping area called the Promenade, which is pretty well known. And the apartment is, I'm not crazy about the development. It's just it doesn't look like a Florida development should look, I guess. But the apartment itself, while half the size and more rent from my last one, it's
incredible.
It's really nice. It's really, really nice. Like, this is definitely the nicest place that I have had on my own, in my life. So I'm happy, comfortable, and so far so good.
I mean, is this place going to be equipped for future WWE premium live event viewings? I mean, can I get a spot on the couch with
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. What do you think the first thing I did when I moved in? The movers were still moving the furniture. They're lugging these 200-pound couches up the stairs, and I am setting up my TV, internet, sound system. That's my priority right there. The bed, I didn't even have a bed yet, and I'm setting up for making sure you got Extreme Rules tomorrow night. So I got to have that ready. But that was not that much has changed.
That's good, because I don't want either one of us to change. Now, Andrew did reference WWE White Rabbit, Jefferson Airplane, segueing into our podcast. By the way, we are Nothing Worthwhile Presents Van DAMMIT, a podcast about Jean-Claude Van Damme, and we will probably not mention Jean-Claude Van Damme at all during today's podcast. Andrew did reference White Rabbit. Now, the WWE, we know a couple of months ago, Vince McMahon is gone as CEO, resigned, and Triple H, Paul Levesque, has taken over as the WWE, I think he's now called Head of Content. I mean, these names are pretty ridiculous. Back in the day, it was called Head Booker or, Head of Creative, but nonetheless, Triple H has taken over. And Andrew, about, let's say, a month ago, during the television breaks, the live tapings of Raw and SmackDown, the WWE would play from time to time White Rabbit with a red background. No one really knew what was going on. That kind of got some interest through social media. Mm-hmm. And then probably maybe about 3 or 2 weeks ago, the WWE started putting QR codes in certain segments of Raw and SmackDown, and in which individuals could scan the QR codes with their device, which would take them to a little sort of weird video package within WWE.com. Of course, rumors abound saying that this will lead to a return of one Bray Wyatt. Rumors are Bray Wyatt will be back and perhaps making his reintroduction to the WWE Universe at Extreme Rules. Andrew, let me hear your thoughts on the whole WWE White Rabbit. If you like those kind of weird Easter eggy kind of things in your wrestling, your thoughts on Bray Wyatt returning, and your thoughts on if it's not Bray Wyatt, who could it possibly be? Andrew, floor is yours.
Well, the answer to your question about, whether I like it or not, the real answer is, am I interested in it? And the answer is, of course. And what they've done with the QR codes is generating, it's all over the place. I mean, they had one on Triple H's, I don't want to spoil SmackDown for you. I watched the beginning, so.
Okay.
I won't spoil anything for you, but, so I'm interested in it. If it pays off, it will be good. If it doesn't pay off, it will suck. That's how it'll be judged. So obviously, Bray Wyatt has to be the payoff unless they have something bigger, which, I don't know what that would be. It may be connected to Brock Lesnar coming back, which you're shaking your head. What do you mean?
I don't think it has anything to do with Brock Lesnar.
No, I don't think so either. It's got to be Bray Wyatt. I can't fathom anybody it being anything else other than that, and anything else would probably be disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think the payoff has to be Bray Wyatt. I think they're trying to throw you off. There's been some alliterations to Aleister Black possibly returning. He's left AEW. There's been some alliterations to Karrion Kross, who's now on the SmackDown roster. I think those are all just little Easter eggs within a bigger Easter egg.
Little inceptions.
Yeah, right.
Hasn't everybody left AEW at this point?
Well, I mean, we could certainly get into that another time. They certainly seem like they're very vulnerable right now, and Triple H is aggressive and will pounce on it, which I like.
Me too.
I think Bray Wyatt grew. I mean, that was the one guy we both said we were still a little curious about why he was released. I mean, certainly. Oh my, is that Marie? Is she home already?
I don't know.
Hold on, Andrew. Let me look. Oh no, good. The dogs run right to the front. Run right to the front door.
I'm telling on you. I'm telling you. I'm telling her she said that.
Yes. I think.
Is she coming this year? By the way.
No, I'm going solo.
Oh. All right, fine.
We'll talk off air.
Okay.
Everything's fine though, but we got a lot of plans and a lot of stuff. Plus, we got Brew.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. I'm not Donnie Trump, all right? I can't afford it. Anyway. Yes, I mean, I think it's got to be Bray Wyatt. He was the one guy I think you and I both said we were still a little curious about, about the release. And I can't disagree with you. If it's done well, it's going to be big. I agree to the QR codes, this kind of thing. It got a lot of mainstream press. A lot of websites that were not wrestling related, caught on to sort of this cool thing that the WWE is doing. I think, I don't know if it'll increase interest in wrestling, but I think it'll make current wrestling fans, current WWE fans more interested or more involved in the storyline. I don't want to get into a whole Extreme Rules thing. I think Extreme Rules as a whole, as an event, it's been a little underwhelming. I'll watch it because I'm a fan, but I can't really say I've been jazzed up a lot about the build up. But if you give me something like Bray Wyatt showing up at the end with some kind of cool pyro or something cool with it, it'll make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, I agree. Although I really am looking forward to Rollins and Riddle.
I think that's a tricky spot because it's going to be some kind of MMA kind of fight pit, and I just don't know if Rollins is like a true pro wrestler. Riddle's got the MMA background.
But Rollins is to me the he's the next, like, he's an HBK type guy. Like, that's him. He can do it all. And he's, you know, he can, excuse me, he can be at the top of the card, or he can keep it hot at the middle. Like, he's great, and I love Riddle. I think Riddle's awesome. So I'm looking forward to, whatever it is. I'm just enjoying the WWE on a consistent basis. It's not, you know, it's not a appointment television as like, oh my God, I gotta watch SmackDown. You know, I watch it sporadically, but whenever I watch it, I enjoy what I see. Starting with tonight, I watched a little bit of the opening of SmackDown, and I was switching back and forth with the baseball game, but I loved what I saw. And so, you know, it's I'm enjoying being interested in it again, but I'm not living around it. Yeah.
So it'll start here I think in an hour or 2 hours, so I will put it on. Well, we do want to say Naksu Cow to everybody. Again, Nothing Worthwhile presents Van Damme, a podcast about Jean-Claude Van Damme. On today's show, Andrew and I will give you our thoughts on Sylvester Stallone and the Prime streamer Samaritan. Yeah, we're only 2 months late, but we'll give you our thoughts on the straight-to-streamer Amazon Prime Stallone and Samaritan. Groo and I will span the universe for the latest news on our favorite 80s action stars. And, of course, we'll take a fond look at 1986 Ice Hockey Pretty Boy Fight Fest Youngblood. Of course, Andrew, we like to start off the show by saying, no retreat!
And no surrender.
All right.
Wait, isn't that how we end it?
Yeah, we open, we close. We open, we close. So,
speaking of that, Cynthia Gibbs was in this movie. This is a double Cynthia Gibbs. This is the second Cynthia Gibbs movie we've done.
You know, I'll just say this, because we'll save Youngblood for the end. I had really romanticized in my head that sex scene with her and Rob Lowe. Like, that was like a favorite of mine growing up, for sure. You know what? Still looks damn good to me. So,
all right. Well, we'll come back to that.
We'll come back to it. So, all right, I gotta get focused here. I'm a little tired. Went out late last night on a school night. So,
go
okay,
ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
This guy's like talking.
No, you went. You said, "Well, I was waiting for you to tell me what you did."
I went to see a sequel to a horror cult classic that I'm fascinated with called Terrifier 2. It was in the theaters for like 2 nights, and they had it playing in a big theater here in Phoenix. And I was like, you know what? This is probably something Groo would do. I'm not saying Groo likes that kind of music, but I know Groo would go to like a special
100%
screening.
I would do something like that.
So I took Moni, who's our sometimes special guest host on the show, and her boyfriend Brandon, and we went to see Terrifier 2. And
how was it?
Lots of blood, lots of gore, violent. This movie tries to expand on the plot of the first one, but the ending was horrifically bad. And so, you know, I was kind of thinking, like, I always remember Sugar Ray Leonard say, like, you know, and when you box, you win the beginning of the round and you win the end of the round. And so the ending was so ridiculous that I kind of left with an overall bad taste in my mouth about the movie when I enjoyed most of the movie, but the ending was so silly that, you know, I was thinking the same thing with like Halloween. I know that the trailer has come out for Halloween Ends. And, you know, when you have these like slasher, I mean, are they real people? Are they supernatural forces? Like, make up your mind, pick one lane and go with it. Stop like, you know, he's a man, you know, but then, you know, next thing you know, he gets stabbed in the head.
Well,
he sits up and he can't be killed. Like, I don't like that with horror movies or slasher movies, and that's why I didn't like Halloween Kills, because I thought the ending, they played him like a real guy. He was in a mental hospital in the first one, and then like he just kills like a mob at the end. Like he just kills like, you know, 30 people when clearly even a superior human specimen would get killed. You know, the raw numbers are just too much.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I am looking forward to Halloween Ends, though. It looks pretty cool.
Of course, Jamie Lee Curtis looks like she does a great job. All right, Groo. Let's see here. Well, again, we're a little bit behind the curve here, but I do want to get your thoughts and our thoughts on the latest Sylvester Stallone project, Samaritan. Samaritan is a 2022 American superhero drama directed by Julius Avery, who is better known for the 2018 sort of wavy Cloverfield-inspired war film Overlord. Samaritan stars Sylvester Stallone, Jovan Wana Walton, Lou Asbeck, Dasha Polanco from Orange is the New Black fame, and Moises Arias. The story follows a kid who suspects that his neighbor is secretly a superhero who was believed to have died many years prior. Groo, Samaritan was released on August 26, 2022 via streaming on Prime Video. And Groo, it's what the world is waiting for. It's what the world is watching. You're a big Stallone guy. I'm going to take a sip of my cherry-flavored seltzer water and let me hear your thoughts on Stallone and Samaritan.
Well, Stallone was actually very good. I really enjoy. He solidifies his, to me, his status as he's just a fucking movie star, and he just ignites the screen like he always does. He's just great. Love watching him as always. He deserved a better movie. He deserved a bigger budget. He deserved to be surrounded by a better supporting cast. The movie could have benefited from a rewrite. It's definitely a really cool story. They just didn't really, there was not much imagination. And it just didn't seem well made. But when the camera's on Sylvester Stallone, it's really good. He's just fun to watch. So I can recommend it on that basis, but it's not a good movie. Not at all, really. So that's
your recommendation is based off of Stallone's performance, but overall, not too fond of the movie.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And that seems to be the general consensus from people that I've spoken to, who have also seen it, the 2 or 3 that I know. What about you?
We're going to make it 4.
Okay.
And of course, those 2 that gave you their opinion, it doesn't matter because I'm going to give you the definitive Evan movie. So I basically made the same conclusion, but I went around in a different way, and I'd like to get your thoughts on what I thought of the movie. Again, I just put, I'm not doing a full review. I always put what I like, what I disliked, and then an overall review. What I liked first off the movie was I didn't change the channel. And in today's age, that's, with the phone, and I watched the whole movie through and it kept my attention. So that was good. I did think, I know Andy mentioned production. It looked like they did put a few bucks into this movie. I thought I didn't like the whole de-aging thing at the end. It looks like they just slapped his face from Nighthawks.
Yeah.
His face, at the end. But I thought they put a few bucks into the movie. And I do think if you're comparing, we're on the last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network, it's better than the typical older action actor straight to streaming drivel that most of these guys put out. So I do think it's a nod better. What I disliked about this movie, I thought the plot had so many holes in it. And Andy, I'm going to disagree kindly on the Stallone thing. I don't like Sylvester Stallone as a superhero. I don't think that kind of role fits his talents, so to speak, as an actor. He tried it in Judge Dredd, and that was I think pretty much a pretty miserable failure.
Yeah.
I don't think the material lended itself to Stallone's acting ability. I'll just leave it at that.
I agree.
Dasha Polanco, who's a good actress, who was in The Orange is the New Black, she's wasted here. She just plays sort of a one-note mom who has a kid who's in distress. He's on the streets. She needs a positive role model to take him in. I thought the movie was very derivative of other movies. I thought it was very derivative of Batman, Gotham City, Granite City, dark, rainy. I thought obviously there was a couple of nods to Unbreakable as well. I'll be similar to Andrew. I'll give it a mild, recommendation. I gave it 2.25 Samaritans. Again, I think it's better than most older action star streaming drivel that they just put out there. The takeaway from Samaritan to me is, and again, I'll say this, and I'm curious to what you think. I think it's time for Stallone to start playing. This is his final note, I believe, of his acting career. He's well into his 70s now, I believe. Yeah. I'd like to see him play closer to his age. He looks like he's a guy in his maybe late 50s, and he's in his mid 70s, perhaps. I want it. Now would be the time, maybe to. I keep on thinking of the movie Oscar. Now would be the time for Stallone to try, a comedy where he plays a patriarch or a mob movie even.
I think he's doing a TV show.
I don't, it looks good. Tulsa King. I don't have Paramount Plus. I'm not gonna get Paramount Plus, but.
All right. I'll give you my password.
Thank you. I think he needs to move away from the Rockies and the Rambos.
I agree.
And try to find that new niche as he heads into the twilight of his career. When I first heard the name Samaritan, this is what I thought, and I thought this was even could have been a cool movie. Was maybe he was a Samaritan trying to help somebody, and something fucked up happened, and he got pulled into some kind of weird plot. And I thought when I first heard that, I thought, whoa, that's that would be something cool. But, the superhero thing, I don't know. He's kind of still a physical, grunty and groany actor. I just don't think it fit into... I felt like I was watching Sylvester Stallone on the screen the entire time as a superhero. It's the same thing I think about when I watch the trailer for Black Adam with The Rock. I don't think of it as Dwayne Johnson playing Black. I just see The Rock on the screen with the bald head and the muscles. I felt this way about Samaritan. It did keep my attention. It did keep me interested, but I guess there was a lot of points that I could pick at that made me not love the movie or really like the movie.
Yeah, well, we're pretty close on that, but I would love to see like Stallone and Schwarzenegger do like a comedy. Just something completely out of left field, something different. Why the hell not? They're both funny guys. Like they could do it. I would like to see, go the Alan Arkin route. Go, just be the old guy in the room or whatever, the Christopher Walken, those kind of roles. You don't have to be the headliner anymore. And he'll always have that credibility, so.
That's what I love so much about Creed. I mean, I really felt like Stallone portrayed Rocky as a fragile kind of guy for the first time, and I thought it was such an amazing performance.
It was
worthy of at least a nod for a major award, and obviously he didn't get it, but I like to see him take some more chances like that.
Yeah, so. Me too. Imagine that, taking a chance by playing Rocky.
Well, yeah. All right, Groo, that's Samaritan. Groo, before we drop our gloves and hockey fight, let's check out the latest news on our favorite 80s era action. I can't even see Andrew right now, so I'm just going to go, we'll just wing it. It's time for Van Dammit, Spanning the Universe.
Van Dammit, Spanning the Universe.
All right, what's happening in the Van Dammit universe?
Andrew, first of all, it's brought to you by New You Life Center. Begin a new you. Check out all of their medical weight loss programs at www.newyoulifecenters.com or give them a call at 602-274-0068. tell them that Evan Moody and Andrew Groo sent you and receive a big 15% off your first service. New You Life Center. We are in this journey together. A big Van Dammit thank you to New You Life Center. Groo, courtesy of ScreenRant.com. Groo, do you ever wonder why Jean-Claude never made a sequel to Time Cop? Like he never made a sequel to Time Cop, like Time Cop 2?
I have never once.
Stay up at night and like tossing and turning in a cold sweat going, damn it, why didn't Jean-Claude make Time Cop 2?
No, but now that you said that, now I'm all fucked up. Now that's it. Now I'm gonna be wondering. Although, what are you about to tell me?
Well, I'm going to tell you that courtesy of ScreenRant.com, why Time Cop 2 with Van Damme never happened, parentheses, but still should. Biting my nails.
But still should or but still could?
But still should.
Oh, all right. So it never was.
Would you say, Groo, that Time Cop was one of Jean-Claude's biggest hits?
I would say... Probably not. I don't hear that much about Time Cop when they're talking about like the Van Damme, the big ones. I could be wrong. Could be wrong.
What would you? This has nothing to do with the article. Like when you think Jean-Claude or when you hear Jean-Claude, what movies do people put out there, or what are you hearing in your head when people say Jean-Claude, like, biggest movies?
First is always Bloodsport.
Really, though? And you don't think of it as sort of his on-the-way-up cult classic kind of deal?
Yeah. But that's how I view it. But that's the one I think that he's most associated with. I would say Universal Soldier, oh, God, can't even talk. Universal Soldier is up there.
Get your choppers back in.
Double Impact. And there's Kickboxer without a doubt, but not Time Cop. I could be wrong, but I don't hear that much about Time Cop.
Well, ScreenRant.com says Time Cop does remain one of Van Damme's biggest solo success. I don't have numbers in front of me. Of course, we will go through it in long form at some point down the line, but. Jean-Claude plays a time-traveling cop trying to stop an evil politician played by the late and great Ron Silver. Always loved Ron, and actually really remembered as a young kid loving Ron Silver in this movie. Time Cop Groo was a pretty good premise, made use of Van Damme's fighting and acting style, and did gross over $100 million worldwide.
Wow.
Jean-Claude afterwards did have issues with addiction and demanding higher paydays, saw his star status wane in the second half of the decade, and Van Damme fell into some TV, video projects in the early 2000s. Van Damme himself has tended to avoid, for the most part, not all of them, for the most part, he's avoided sequels to some of his biggest hits. He passed on the likes of Kickboxer 2, No Retreat, No Surrender 2. I mean, thank God he passed on that one, and a Hard Target 2. But there was a 2003 direct-to-DVD entry called Time Cop 2, The Berlin Decision. Instead, we got Jason Scott Lee playing a new Time Enforcement Commission officer chasing after Thomas Ian Griffith.
Hi.
Thomas Griffith. Terry Silver.
Yes, Thomas Ian Griffith.
Work with me a little bit, Dan.
No, I was. Can you see me now?
I can't.
Really? Because the camera seems to be on.
Damn it, Jim. No. All right. I don't see it.
Anyway, no, Thomas Ian Griffith, he's in Time Cop. Yes, I knew that.
Here you go.
Here I am. Yeah, all right.
Sexy.
Yeah.
Here he is. Punchy like a hurricane. Oh, by the way, how was the Hurricane Ian? My mom said it really wasn't too bad by her.
No, we got very lucky. We got nothing.
All right, good. All right, I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so the story is, so he's chasing after Thomas Ian Griffith, who's trying to assassinate Hitler in 1940. I mean, I guess I wouldn't stop him on that one. Considering how popular the 1994 original Time Cop was, it's strange in hindsight that there was no attempt to make a theatrical follow-up with Van Damme returning. The actor himself would later blame this on the Time Cop. There was a Time Cop TV series. I remember.
I never saw it. I remember there being one, though.
It debuted in 1997 and lasted for nine episodes before being canceled. Van Damme believed that it cheapened the franchise's potential on the big screen. Now your camera went completely.
Yeah, I know. I could see what it's doing, so just live with it.
The original Time Cop grew and endures as a cult favorite. So the article goes on to say, before Van Damme officially retires, Time Cop 2 would be a great way to close out his action career. He's in his 60s now. He is still in great shape, and a legacy sequel could do some business. I don't know if there's a lot here to chew on, but I thought this was an interesting article. Groo, any thoughts on Jean-Claude passing on Time Cop 2 or passing on some of these big sequel opportunities?
The ones that you're talking about are not the ones that I applaud those decisions. They're not the ones that I would have gone for. Like, I would have been interested in maybe Bloodsport, another Bloodsport, or
even bloodier sport.
Yeah. Or, his movies are very basic as far as the plot goes. It's not, it's like, guy gets caught, fish out of water somewhere, and then, he's got to dig his way out. There's not much. I sort of applaud him not going for the cash grabs, I gotta say.
You don't think Time Cop, the way they had it with time travel, is kind of...
I didn't see it.
Okay, well then we'll talk about... I don't know, I think Time Cop, with the storyline with time travel, is kind of built for sequels, or, you could do endless sort of deals with it.
Well, you tell me. You saw it. Is it good?
Time Cop, I'll say this. It's probably the most enduring Van Damme film in Evan Moody's head.
Really?
When I went to see it in Rockville Center and whatever year it was, that was I remember that being sort of Jean-Claude's coming out party as a major star. I mean, I really considered him at that point on the, similar level to Stallone and Schwarzenegger, and I remember being very excited to see Time Cop, and I remember highly enjoying the movie, Ron Silver, this sort of thing. Yeah. I just think the whole storyline with time travel could have been... you can do endless sequels with time travel, but you're telling me that it's pretty much your favorite Van Damme movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember highly enjoying it.
Well, then, you know what? I'll look for it now because I'd like to see it. Always interested in a good Evan Moody recommendation.
Did you see the Time Cop television series?
No, but I remember. I remember its existence. But I wasn't interested in it because I hadn't seen the movie. So but I remember the existence of it.
Do you agree with Van Damme that this kind of thing cheapens the sort of the conceptual content, the plot, so to speak, of the movies, or where these movies can go when it's like, the television series and this and then that?
Yeah, but that I feel like that was before the days where people just started saying, you know what, we own the property. We can, if we say it never happened, we can say it never happened. So they call that retconning now.
Right, right.
They weren't really doing that much then. They were kind of stuck in their whatever, everything was canon, as they say. I think maybe like Dallas kind of broke the mold, or maybe they were the mold because, when they did that whole dream thing, because, the guy came back to the show. But they weren't really doing that. They weren't retconning that. So yes, I do agree that the TV series and all that stuff, a failed TV series, definitely cheapened the franchise and made a sequel less desirable. Absolutely.
I don't know about you, but if I was back, 20 years ago, and I was in a Blockbuster and I saw Time Cop 2, the Berlin decision. I'm absolutely picking that up and putting it in my basket and getting my large bag of Twizzlers and my cherry Coke and going home and watching it.
Well, look, if you love Time Cop 1, so obviously.
No, but I always love. You don't love like off-center sequels, like maybe even bad sequels, like
honestly,
my God,
no. Honestly, no.
Really?
Yeah, because like it ruins it for me a little bit. It does cheapen. I see what he's talking about, like especially when they do like a made-for-TV one. I remember the first one of these that I saw was a sequel to Midnight Run. Remember Midnight Run with Robert De Niro?
Of course, and I'm aware of the TV.
So they did these TV movies, and I was so excited because I was such a huge fan of Midnight Run's still one of my like top 5 favorite movies of all time.
Right.
And I can watch it over and over and over again. But I saw this TV series, and it was just, not only was it not what I loved about Midnight Run, it was just god awful on its own merit. So, when you don't do it right, don't do it at all. I don't see how these movies make money. And I see other ones, like they did a sequel to what was that? And it's the same guy who's in them. They did a sequel to Black Hawk Down. It was like Black Hawk Down 2, I think. And, well, of course, the original star wasn't in it, so they had to get, a different guy. And I wouldn't go near a movie like that. They did the same thing with like Daddy Daycare with Eddie Murphy did the first one. They did Daddy Day Camp with Cuba Gooding Jr. as the same character. So when they do that, when they do, even Kindergarten Cop 2, you've seen the picture of that. Right? It exists, right?
Yeah.
Dolph Lundgren. Okay.
Lord.
Now, he's on a bit of a, renaissance career-wise, but I have no interest in seeing, a cheapo sequel to a great Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Why? There's, so the long answer to a short question, I see everything that Van Damme means about, cheapening it. So.
All right. Well, good for you, Jean-Claude. Groo, courtesy of people.com. Now, I just read today, supposedly the big divorce is off, but when I looked at this maybe whatever it was last Wednesday, or Sylvester Stallone and Jennifer Flavin are slowly figuring things out after reconciliation. People.com confirmed that Flavin 54 and Stallone 76 reconciled 1 month after she filed for divorce after 25 years of marriage. Now Flavin is, quote, much happier. A source close to the former model and businesswoman tells People she has been spending time with Sly and they are slowly figuring things out. The source says that the divorce filing was a wake-up call for Sylvester Stallone, who shares 3 daughters with Flavin, Scarlett 20, Sistine 24, and Sophia 26. When Jen filed for divorce, she felt she had no option. She felt unheard and was very frustrated. Flavin filed for a petition for dissolution of marriage and other relief from Stallone on August 19. She alleged, this is pretty wild, that he engaged in the intentional dissipation, depletion, and or waste of marital assets. Definition, he spends money like a wild man, which has had an adverse economic impact on the marital estate, which he denied. The reconciliation news came days after a Palm Beach County, Florida court filings said both Flavin and Stallone agreed it is in the best interest of each of them individually and, more importantly, collectively as a family to resolve all issues attendant to the dissolution of their marriage in a dignified, amicable, and private manner out of court. Stallone, for his part, issued a statement, "I love my family. We are amicably and privately addressing these personal issues." Groo, Stallone versus Flavin, round 12. Who do you got?
you always bet on Sly. But you know what? Fuck her. He can spend the money the way he wants to spend it. He worked his ass off. He earned every single fucking cent he's got. He could, if he wants to piss it all away, as long as his children are taken care of, he could do whatever the hell he wants. I don't give a shit. Let her, you know, what's her problem? You know?
I'm so angry.
Well, she's filing for divorce because he spends too much of his money. They live in a palace. What? Come on. There's got to be more.
Do you think maybe like art imitates life, where Flavin goes, "You signed away the power of attorney"?
Well, it wouldn't have been him. It would have been Frank Stallone. It would have been Uncle Frank who signed all the money away. Your brother.
You can't win. Well, I guess I'm happy for.
I'm afraid.
I mean, just yeah. I don't know. Like he's getting like tattoos of like his family dog over like his portrait of Jennifer Flavin on his whatever.
Yeah, that might have been a little impulsive. If all this started in August and we're only in October, that might have been a tad impulsive.
Yeah, like I mean. Like on his back, his chemically enhanced back, whatever, like, you know, testosterone and steroids. I mean, the guy's like 76 and he's still like a shit brick house. Well, I give him credit. I'm sure he still puts the time in the gym. So, all right, well, it'll look good. I'm glad Sly and Jennifer Flavin are figuring things out. I guess the divorce is.
Or maybe since, you know, he and Brigitte worked together again, maybe some of those old Danish sparks flew when you know, they did Creed 2 together.
Wasn't the rumor that he minimized it because he had some kind of like little grudge against her? I mean, did I not read that? Or
I have no idea. I'm just
I thought it was nice of him to throw her a bone and, so to speak, and have her on there, even if there was hard feelings, because she is canon to the Rocky franchise.
I 100% agree. I thought it was ultra cool that she was in it. Yeah.
All right. Well, Groo, Arnie Schwarzenegger. This Wednesday, Groo, the Terminator was back in the news as Arnold Schwarzenegger visited the Auschwitz Nazi death camp to deliver a message against prejudice and hate. The Terminator actor met with a Holocaust survivor, son of survivors, and a woman who was forced into experiments by Nazi doctor Joseph Mengele when she was just 3 years old. Pretty wild stuff. He also saw the barracks, watchtowers, and remnants of gas chambers. Schwarzenegger placed candles in front of the death wall where the Germans shot thousands of people, and at the monument to the victims of Auschwitz. Quote, "This is a story that has to stay alive. This is a story that we have to tell over and over again," the 75-year-old former governor of California said at the Auschwitz Jewish Center Foundation. 75 years old. Wow. He has been working on the foundation and received its inaugural Fighting Hatred Award in June for his anti-hatred messages on social media. Quote, "I am a witness to the ruins of a country broken by the Nazis," Schwarzenegger said in a statement after receiving the honor. "I saw firsthand how this hatred spun out of control, and I share these painful memories with the world in hopes of preventing future tragedies and educating soldiers about personal responsibility. I stand with the Auschwitz Jewish Center Foundation and their mission of education to ensure never again." Groo, Schwarzenegger has previously opened up about his Austrian father, Gustav Schwarzenegger, being a Nazi soldier. Wow, I'm getting goosebumps reading this. During World War II, and is committed to fighting prejudice now. He was accompanied by Simon Bergson, son of Holocaust survivors, and the two are fighting for the same thing. Quote, "Let's fight prejudice together." Oh, Lord. "And let's just terminate it once and for all." Oh, come on, Arnie. I'm so impressed that you're going knee-deep on such a heavy issue, and then you give us the hackneyed, "Let's terminate hatred for the rest of its existence."
Which is why I love the guy.
This is the actor's first trip to Auschwitz, but he said it wouldn't be his last. Of course, Groo, he said, "I'll be back."
No, he didn't.
Andrew,
he did not.
Yes, I have it in quotes.
Oh my
I'll
God.
Be back. Andrew,
I love him. He's the best.
Andrew, the Terminator fighting against hatred.
There's another guy like Stallone. He can do whatever the hell he wants. He is what he's accomplished, even more than Stallone in that he was the governor of, one of the biggest states isn't California the biggest state? I think it is.
People or land size? I think land size, it's Texas.
No, people. Population.
Probably, I don't know, man.
I think. Either way, it's in the top 3. And, so he can do whatever he wants. And yes, I think it's, he's a former governor. He's a major politician in the United States. So it's completely appropriate for him to, do these sort of ambassadorial kind of things. But is it wrong of me to wish to rather he be doing Terminator 5 instead of visiting Auschwitz?
I mean, as a fellow Jew, I'm happy he's.
I agree.
Somebody's standing up for us.
Yeah, I agree.
I just love how he puts in, terminate and I'll be back into the most, serious genocide of all time.
And only he could get away with it. That's you gotta love the guy. I mean,
I'm surprised he didn't take his hand out to Simon Berkson and said, "Come with me if you want to live."
That would have been great.
Come on, guys.
That would have been great.
Nazi humor. Come on. I agree. Good for Arnie.
Yes.
And it's always nice when a big name stands up for hatred. And as a Jew, of course, feel good about with the whole.
He seems something I really like, especially in the last several years of all the turmoil. Regardless of what side you're on, Arnold Schwarzenegger would put out videos that just were very positive, and he still has a powerful voice.
I think my favorite positive video is from Pumping Iron when he goes, when I get the pump, it's like coming. So when I get pumped, I like I'm coming all the time, and I'm like, I never feel that way when I lift weights. I just can't wait to finish and get the fuck out of there.
Was that the scene he was smoking the joint in? Was that?
I think so. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Oh my God!
Listen.
I have a story about that, from Camp Wayne with a similar situation with lifting weights and being a little inebriated, and it wasn't fun. I hated it every second of it. So. All right, Groo. Last but not least, from a man standing up for the Jews to a man who ironically is known for hating the Jews, Mel Gibson has become an icon thanks to roles such as Lethal Weapon, Braveheart, and Mad Max. But there was a time, Groo, when he came close to adding James Bond to that impressive list. Groo, courtesy of comicbook.com, Mr. Mel recently reflected on the decision during an interview with JoeBlow.com, explaining why Sean Connery, he felt Sean Connery was typecast in James Bond-like roles until he starred in the Untouchables, led him to a conclusion that playing the spy might not be the wisest move. Quote, Mel, I got offered the James Bond movies when I was 26, which is 46 years ago, okay. Gibson recalled, quote, and they said, hey, we want you to be the next James Bond. And I thought about it, and I did think about it, and I sort of turned it down for that reason, the actor continued, because I thought, look what has happened to poor Sean. He got stuck there for 3 decades. Groo, Daniel Craig is the last actor to play James Bond. There's still no word on who his replacement might be. The hunt for the new James Bond is said to be ongoing. But the franchise producers don't appear to be in any rush as they look for someone who is willing to make a big commitment to the role for a big chunk of their career. Groo, any thoughts on Mel Gibson perhaps as 007 James Bond?
Well, Mel Gibson, for what it's worth, for all of his shenanigans, he's a supremely talented guy. and he definitely would have made that work, especially at that age. Glad he didn't, because I think if he did, I don't think he would have been typecast, because he was probably a bit too talented for that. But I don't think we would have gotten a lot of the classics, that he has done, if he, got pigeonholed into, 10 or 12 years of doing nothing but James Bond. I think I think he would have been a terrific one. But, glad he didn't. But he's right about Connery, because Connery did have like a lull, and I know he swore off James Bond and then he went back to it. I think the title of his last Bond movie was Never Say Never Again. And
by the way, I remember loving that movie.
It's a good movie, yeah, but it was called, the title had nothing to do with the movie. It was called that just for that reason, because he always said he would never play Bond again. But then he got pulled back into it, and you know what? After that was, sort of when he sort of came back, I think. I don't know when he did The Man Who Would Be King, either right before that or right after that. Probably right before it. But then he did The Untouchables, you're right, and then shortly after he won the Academy Award for it. Then he did like Indiana Jones, and then he was back to starring in movies for a good, 10 years. So, he got out of it.
Was that sort of his, like a late career renaissance? Was he already an older guy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think for Bond, they gotta do what they did with Daniel Craig. They, when Daniel Craig started, he wasn't well known. They gotta look for somebody who's not really well known, maybe even not known at all. Just so, just cause it'll be difficult for anybody to really step into that role and be able to, especially now, it's just difficult to break out. Famous people get stuck in their own, personas much more easily these days than they used to. Do you agree with that?
What do you mean by that, though?
I mean, when we're watching The Rock, we're not watching his character. We're watching The Rock. When we're watching, even today with Robert De Niro in most of his movies, we're watching Robert De Niro. Unless he really, goes for it, we're not seeing the character. I don't know if that insults him or anything, but.
Well, I did make a reference to The Rock and Black Adam. I wouldn't say that for all of The Rock's roles, but I for that one, I don't know. He's so pumped up. I'm looking at that trailer, and it just and so I agree with you to a point. I mean, there are, when I saw The Rock, and I think it was Fast Five when he made that first appearance as the FBI. I loved it. He felt, that he didn't feel like Dwayne Johnson sort of on the screen there. So, but I do agree with you at some point. Sometimes I'm watching movies and I'm just, it's the actor reading the lines and I'm not really transfixed into the sort of the plot and the role.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I feel like I can't really think of anybody, even if they put someone like Andrew Garfield, who's a very good British actor, right? he would still be Andrew Garfield, I can't see him disappearing into that, as good as he might be, he's a 20-something-year-old kid and that's a 100-year-old character,
Yeah, well, listen, I hated him as Spider-Man. That was the weakest Spider-Man of all.
I didn't see those Spider-Mans, but I liked him in the No Way Home Spider-Man.
Right. I used to think that way of Michael Cera, but then I saw the movie This Is the End, where he was like a coke sniffing.
That was hysterical. He was great in that.
Sex banging. Oh my God.
That was funny. I didn't love that movie, but I know what you're talking about, Michael Cera, with that.
I didn't love it either, but I liked it. Friday night, we're sitting at home, nothing to do. I'm like, hey, let's go to Netflix and find a movie, not like TV show, it's Friday night. Let's find a movie. So I see This Is the End. I mean, I know it has all the, it's got the whole sort of crew, James Franco and the whole those guys, and I'm like, oh, let's watch this. And then, of course, like halfway through, Maria's like, "This movie is disgusting. It's so lowbrow," and I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, I didn't know it was going to be like a devil with a penis, and
it's not a good movie, but those couple scenes with Michael Cera where he's like, what did he like shove a big thing of Coke in somebody's face, like he was just a complete fuck up. That made me laugh hard. I remember.
Yeah, Danny McBride.
Yes.
Like at the end, the cannibal with Channing Tatum as his bitch. Fun movie. Groo, let's get to it. Our final closeout for the 80s cheese. Groo, Youngblood is a 1986 American sports drama film, co-produced and co-written by Peter Markle. Groo, not a really fun fact, but Peter Markle, the director of Youngblood, also directed...
I don't, don't tell me. I can get this. He directed a movie called Hot Dog.
He did direct Hot Dog,
yes, the skiing movie.
Loved it. I probably whacked off.
Softcore, yeah. So. Shannon Tweed.
Oh, God, I love Shannon Tweed.
Yes.
In the 80s. Do you know the other sort of big film he did, Peter Markle? A serious movie?
It was like...
I have one more that he did.
I feel like it was like a courtroom movie. And then I won't... All right, no, I don't. I'll know it when you say it.
He did the 9/11 themed film, Flight 93, 2006.
No, I did not know that. Yeah. I saw that. That is the better movie of the two about that flight. That's the TV movie.
I've never watched it because I don't think I want to, but if you're telling me it's good, maybe I'll give it a shot.
Those are tough to watch because, those are tough to watch, I will say, but I remember watching Flight 93. Wait, he directed... He did
Flight 93.
Yes, United 93 was the one that came out in the theater. Flight 93 was like on A&E, and that one to me was much better, and it was so harrowing. Like, so I have to hand it to him. It is not Hot Dog 2.
Right.
So, I'll say that.
Well, Groo, Youngblood stars Rob Lowe, Cynthia Gibbs, and Patrick Swayze. The film also includes Keanu Reeves in his first feature film role. Groo, today's Van Dammit podcast, Youngblood / Samaritan / a million other things, White Rabbit, is brought to you by New Life Center. Like a sandwich, we want to spread the love. Follow New Life Center on Instagram to take advantage of their specials and monthly giveaways. I think we'll have an Andrew Gruthius visit down there whenever pre-WrestleMania.
That's right.
Andrew, we're going to start your journey. Check out all their programs at www.newulifecenters.com, whether that is medical weight loss, hormone balancing, medical aesthetics, cosmetic injectables, and laser treatments. You could end up looking like a young, hairless Rob Lowe back in 1986. Thin, lithe, hairless, muscular, muscle body. Oh, God, I'm touching myself. Anyway, give them a call at 602-2740-0068. Tell them we sent you and receive a big 15% off your first. New You Life Center at Big Van Dammit. Thank you.
Yeah, right there, right next to LA Fitness.
Let's see here. Groo, just some fun facts. It looks like Keanu Reeves was the only one that actually had hockey experience upon being cast. Keanu was MVP, I guess, of his local hockey team and was nicknamed The Wall for his goaltending capabilities at De La Salle College in Toronto. Patrick Swayze had been trained as a figure skater. Not surprising.
Figure skater.
But never played hockey.
Why is that not surprising?
I'm going to tell you a lot about Patrick Swayze after this movie.
Oh no! Oh no! Don't ruin.
No!
Don't ruin my childhood.
No, but you don't think later on he came across a little fey on the screen, sort of like what they say about the guy who played even Wolverine, like in all those non-Wolverine roles. What's his name? The actor
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, like you don't think he's playing like the greatest entertainer, like musicals, and I don't know.
Hugh Jackman maybe, but Patrick Swayze, if anything, he's kind of that way in this. I think he became tougher later on.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. No, I'm going to tell you my thoughts on Patrick at the end.
Okay.
They did have to teach Rob Lowe to ice skate before the filming began. I have it. It was rated R. Youngblood was rated R.
Oh yeah.
Runtime is 1 hour 33 minutes. Groo, let's take a look at the cast of Youngblood. Of course, we have Rob Lowe as Dean Youngblood, Patrick Swayze as Derek Sutton, Jim Youngs as Kelly Youngblood, George J. Finn as Racky, Cynthia Gibbs as Jesse Chadwick, Ed Lauder, really surprised me here, Murray Chadwick, Eric Nestorenko as Blaine Youngblood, and Fiona Flanagan as Miss McGill.
Ooh, Miss McGill.
Groo, any thoughts? Well, I love to ask your thoughts on this. Sometimes these casts are very surprising. What do you think of the cast of Youngblood?
Interesting cast. Eric Nestorenko, I think, was a professional hockey player.
I believe he is. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'd never heard of whoever was playing Miss McGill, but she was good.
That's a great job.
Yeah. Patrick Swayze and Rob Lowe, the reason that I was interested in this movie when I was a kid was because of them two, because they were the brothers from The Outsiders. And this was only like a year or two later.
Did you see Youngblood around 86?
Yes. I didn't see it in the theater, but I remember seeing it on TV. I remember being interested in seeing it on TV, and again, and again, and again.
Okay, so.
Well, I just kept kind of rewinding it to a specific part, but the cast, Ed Lauder is, I don't know what was he a well-known, like, character actor at that time?
I feel like he was. I mean, it's hard for me to go back to 86, but he just has one of those faces that you feel like you've seen in 1,000 other movies or television shows.
You can't really name one.
Right.
Actually, I can name one. I remember he was in True Romance. But yeah, he's one of those guys who just disappears into roles. One of those, like, I think he passed away a few years ago, but he's one of those, like, great character actors, like a J.T. Walsh, or a James Rebhorn. Remember that guy? Those guys, they're all dead. But those guys, they just disappear into and they could play anything. A good guy, a bad guy, a stranger on the street. So this, Ed Lauder was one of those guys, and he's pretty good in this movie. I really, he's good. He kind of rises above his dialogue a little bit.
I mean, I didn't know he has a connection with Peter Markle because he played in Hot Dog the movie, Yu Jasol.
He was not in Hot Dog. I know everybody who was in Hot Dog, and he was not in Hot Dog.
God, I love movies like Hot Dog the movie. Like, I just love, God.
Yes. That's what we grew up on, man.
Every nude rated R movie, I just taped over all my mom's movies. Like,
You taped over your father's bar mitzvah.
Yeah, right. I probably did. Let's see here. The filming of Youngblood took place on the east end of Toronto in the summer of 1984. Ted Reeve Arena was used as the interior of the Hamilton Mustangs home rink, while Scarborough Arena Gardens was used for the arena's exterior. All right, and then basically the plot of the movie is pretty straightforward. Dean Youngblood is a 17-year-old. Are they really trying to sell him as 17?
Oh my! Yeah, I was gonna say, give me a fucking break. I thought he was like 26.
Yeah, right. If you want to tell me 21, because he looks like 25, 26 in the movie. That's funny because in Terrifier 2, one of the actresses who plays like a high school kid literally looks 35.
Yeah. If they wanted 17, they should have given the part to Ralph Macchio.
Right. So of course he has dreams of playing in the National Hockey League. He voices those to his dad, who disapproves. Dean's older brother Kelly convinces their father to relent. Dean travels to Canada to try out for the Hamilton Mustangs, where he demonstrates his offensive skills, but displays a lack of physical toughness. I think the movie tries to really put that point across. The movie opens with the home film, and he's skating and he scores, and then of course he gets beat up or knocked out by the big tough on the hockey rink. Dean earns the nickname Pretty Boy, brought on by his rivalry with fellow hockey player Carl Racky. Racky, who is competing for a spot, engages him in a fight and quickly dispatches him. Despite this, the Mustangs head coach, a former NHL All-Star, selects Dean for the team. And of course, Dean makes the team and begins a flirtation with their coach's daughter, Jessie. What do you think of that? I think, honestly, all joking aside, one of the things I liked about the movie was Rob Lowe's rapport with Cynthia Gibbs. Like, it felt like a nice, sweet romance to me. I mean, I don't know.
It's very manufactured.
Really? Okay.
But none of that mattered when, for specific moments. But no, they're not. No, there's nothing there. I mean,
all right.
I mean, Is
it not there because it's manufactured? Is Cynthia Gibbs lack that little extra verb?
No, she is absolutely, I can't believe I'm going to use this word, but I am, scrumptious in this movie.
I agree.
You want to eat her up, man. And look at him.
Cute.
Look at him. He's adorable. So I mean, there's nothing that these two don't have. I wouldn't call her a great actress. Lowe is good, but the writing, the dialogue as written, is way beneath the chemistry that they could have had. But they were too stuck behind these lines that literally you could predict what they were going to say way before they said it. That's what it seemed like. Like every time, they would be bantering, back and forth. I'd be like, all right, this is where she's going to say this and that, he's going to say that. And I'm like, why wouldn't somebody just do something different? Be a little spontaneous, but it was by the numbers writing. So they were really underserved, by the dialogue, and Ed Lauter too. The writing was just not worthy of the talent involved, at least on their levels.
Well, you don't think if you're referencing Ed Lauter, there was that one game, in the second period, he's really cursing everybody out in the locker room. He's like, we gotta get off, you get your fucking asses out of your head. And I don't know, I felt like, he felt like perhaps a hockey coach to me.
Yes, he does, because he's good and he sells it, but the words themselves are cliched. But you know what? Then you got to come back to, listen, this is what, 1984, 1985, 86.
Yeah.
Cliches were in. I mean, that's what sold. So I guess you can't really fault it. The movie would be written very differently today. The story could be the exact same story. It's a Rocky story. It's that, motif. But the dialogue is just so 80s cheese, and maybe I should give it more credit for that. We're
going to talk about the cheese because this was part of our sort of theme. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more on sort of the Rocky thing. I mean, and it's in one of the reviews that the critic, again, I'm watching this and I am thinking Karate Kid, Rocky. It's sort of the same sort of
What
themes.
Was I thinking? I was thinking?
Again, it's, I felt like Karate Kid, he's a talented player, but he just doesn't have the physicality aspect. And there is a big fighting aspect, certainly in the 80s with hockey. It's been toned down a little bit more now in the 2000s, but and he goes back to the farm, and his dad, like his dad never taught him that skill. Like, the dad's gonna like open up the dusty closet, and and the dad's gonna teach him. But Dean, let me see here. Dean, okay. Dean earns the nickname Pretty Boy, and he has the rivalry called Racky. Okay, so he's kept on the team. He links up with team mentor Derek Sutton, paid by Patrick Swayze. He's deliberately injured by Racky, who's now at a rival team. Dean returns home. His brother inspires him to keep playing, and the father teaches him some of the fighting skills. Dean returns to the team, ready to confront Racky in the final game of the Memorial Cup playoffs. The game ends with a winning penalty shot by Dean with 3 seconds left as time expires. Because, of course, most hockey fights end at the end of the game. He confronts and defeats, not while we're competing, defeats Carl Racky in a fight, and he's carried off the ice on the shoulders by his teammates.
No, that ending there with the fight after the game, that was the trailer for Bloodsport 2.
Well, they used Time Cop, the time traveling element to... Well, listen, I've gotten a little bit of a taste for what you think about the movie, but hold off for a few minutes and you'll give us your full review. Let me ask you this before we get to the statistics of did you enjoy watching Youngblood? Was there some nostalgia involved? It's in 1986. I was 16. You were 12, 13 at the time. I mean, did it bring back, was it a nice experience to watch this movie again, forgetting about the quality, so to speak?
Absolutely. Okay. That's, there's always going to be a fondness for movies like this that don't know any better. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by saying that?
Well, yeah, because I'm thinking the flip side now. Movies back then they were not aware, and today they're way too aware. Everybody's afraid to take a chance, piss somebody off, say something controversial, or put something on screen controversial. So I definitely agree. Groo, you're good with the numbers. You're a Hollywood guy. Want to take a gander? What was the production budget for 1986 Youngblood? How much money did they drop on this film?
Let's see. No. You got to take it into consideration. So I think the movie's supposed to take place by the border. Like, he's like over the bridge. I think it's New York. I think it's like upstate New York or Buffalo area. And then he goes into Toronto, right?
Right.
But it wasn't filmed there. But it was filmed in Canada anyway. It's an American movie filmed in Canada, which means it's low budget. Okay, yeah. Which means it's low budget.
But you're right. It's supposed to be in New York.
Yeah.
He's from rural, probably like upstate New York.
Okay, so mid-'80s, low budget was low budget. These days, low budget is like 25, 30 million.
Right.
I'm going to say 9 or 10 million budget.
I've always said my boy knows his numbers. I have 8 million for the budget of Youngblood.
Damn.
Andrew,
they must have gotten paid nothing.
Well, I mean, you know how they say, like, listen, everyone knows Andrew and I in education. I was an assistant principal for like 10 years. I was a principal for 2 years. When you look at a school budget, the largest line item is salaries for teachers by far.
Yeah.
When you look at a budget for movies, even let's say Youngblood, that $8 million, is the biggest percentage going to the actors? Is it 50-50 for production and trying to make the movie look good? I'm just curious, what would you say, roughly speaking, and you have to generalize a little bit, but when you look at a budget, whether it's Marvel to Youngblood, what percentage goes to the actors, what percentage, or does it really vary based on?
It definitely varies. I could never guess percentages, but I would say in this case, probably the actors and actor maintenance. I can't really see the money elsewhere. It's not a movie with the well, you know, I'm being critical. The hockey is not very well done. What's the matter?
That was in my notes.
All right, yeah. So you'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. But so they obviously didn't break the bank there. They could have, didn't. So yeah, that doesn't mean that it's a low budget, that it's bad because it's low budget. I don't think that. Like, there are movies that are bad because they're low budget, like Superman 4. Remember that one? Like the lack of budget ruined that movie. That's not the case here. So I would say, yeah, probably at least 50 or 60% is probably paying the talent. Yeah.
Andrew, you want to take a gander at the box office for Youngblood? I have the domestic, which, if I'm looking at my numbers, was the international. I mean, I guess maybe this was didn't really have an international presence. I have the final number for Youngblood.
I remember this movie coming out, and I remember it being out I didn't see it in the theater, but I remember it being out for a decent amount of time, which means it probably made a little bit of money. And by a little bit, I mean a little bit. Definitely was not a flop. I'm gonna say 15 million.
Wow.
What?
My boy, domestic box office 15,448,000.
I was off by 400,000.
So, Andrew, Youngblood ranks 4,301 for domestic box office all time. It ranks 5,981 all-time worldwide box office.
That's not bad.
Ranks 1,463 for domestic box office rated R movie, and ranks 1,825th all-time worldwide box office for rated R movies.
Now that is research right there. I love it.
I found some schlocky website. All right, Andrew, give a listen. We're going to give you some critical responses, and while I'm reading, you formulate your final notes on 1986 Youngblood. Groo, RogerEbert.com gave Youngblood 2 stars and said, "Hey guys, by now we know the formula by heart. The hero tries to win, but is soundly defeated by the evil Superman on the other side. He goes into exile, trains until he drops, gets advice from a wise old father figure, and then, in the last scene, makes the big comeback and publicly humiliates the enemy, and gets the girl, of course. Youngblood is not a bad movie. It indeed has moments of real conviction, but it is doomed by its plot." Rotten Tomatoes Groo gave a tomato meter score of 44% based on 9 critical reviews. Metacritic gave Youngblood a score of 51 based on 8 critical reviews. Groo, what did some of the pros think about Youngblood? Patrick Goldstein of the LA Times said, "There's nothing wrong with Hollywood's obsession with making 80s updates of the Horatio Alger story, but Youngblood doesn't come close to capturing the spunk or spirit of youthful dreams." TV Guide magazine said Youngblood is a little more than a star vehicle for Lowe, who handles the role well enough. And the New York Times, Janet Maslin said, Youngblood seems chiefly designed as a vehicle for Mr. Lowe, and Mr. Lowe seems well able to handle more demanding material. But once the film descends into the usual platitudes about doing one's best and making the grade, it begins to seem aimless. Andrew Gruthius, your time is now. You can't see me. Your time is now. Give us your definitive word on Youngblood on a scale of 0 to 4 hockey pucks, 80s cheese. Groo, drop the gloves and tell us, where do you stand on Youngblood?
Youngblood was an enjoyable experience. It was an enjoyable experience watching it when I was a kid, and I don't think I've seen it since then. I was interested in enough. You can't find it streaming, so I dialed up Amazon and ordered the DVD, and I watched it. Thank God for Jeff Bezos. It came in one day, and I actually watched it this afternoon when I got home from work. And it was an enjoyable experience watching and dissecting and thinking about, what would they do there now? And I saw potential for it to be kind of like a cross between Bull Durham and Slapshot. And I'm like, that's what this could be if they really went there. And Rob Lowe, it's like knowing what I know now. Rob Lowe is a really funny guy. And yes. I feel like he could have brought that kind of edge to this character and made him a little more than kind of the whiny whatever. Loved Patrick Swayze. Just every time he walks into the room, like he just looks around like, hey, I'm the shit. I love that swagger that he has in this movie. It's unlike any other performance of his, I think. And I really enjoyed it. And of course, Cynthia Gibbs is, like I said, absolutely scrumptious. And, so I'm gonna give it 2.5, hockey pucks, because I have to say it's not a good movie, but it's an enjoyable one to watch. So 2.5 seems like, 2.5 were always the good ones. Like, you're gonna get something out of it. If it was 2 stars, it's like, it's like meh. But 2.5, like I remember Hoosiers got 2.5 stars in Newsday. And I remember seeing that movie. I'm like, well, 2.5 stars must mean great, because Hoosiers is great. And Newsday was always my metric. So 2.5, because I do like Youngblood. It's a very, very, very guilty pleasure.
By the way, my format for reading Newsday was the following: sports.
Yes, go backwards.
Flip to the front. I did headlines, then I went to part 2, and finished up with the comics at the very end.
You didn't do Kids Day?
I think it was Kids Day.
It was right next to the comics. It was right next to the comics.
Kids Day in it though every day? Or was Kids Day like
I think
Sunday?
So. I think Kids Day was in it. Kids Day was like, it was small every day, and then Sunday it was a big one, just like everything else.
Right. Yep. That was our local
Newsday.
Local New York newspaper.
Yeah. So 2.5 hockey pucks.
Okay.
Or 2.5 orgasms, which is how many I think Rob Lowe had in this movie.
Cynthia Gibbs, though, I just want to spread her on a cracker and just like on a. She is cute as can be. I got to this again, the same place with a little bit different thought. What I liked about the movie, I did think there was good chemistry between Rob Lowe and Cynthia Gibbs. I noted Ed Lauder as the hockey coach. Murray Chadwick was really. But it's funny you mention it, because to me, when I see this movie, you could see sort of the genesis of the stars. You could see that Rob Lowe is he has star appeal. But I actually agree with Andrew. Patrick Swayze has a bit of an edge as Derek Sutton. I made up my mind on the scene where Swayze goes on this semi-long discourse about hockey. They're going to chew you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get paid and blah, blah, blah. And Rob Lowe looks at him and says, but do you still love to play? And he's like, fucking
A. Yeah.
I mean, like, I was like that. Like, I really saw where, oh my God, Patrick Swayze, that guy's a star. Because at that point, the hair, the skin, he's got some pimple, like the hair's not fully coiffed yet. Like he's handsome, but he's not Eddie Murphy handsome yet. He's an up and comer, and you could see where he really has that star making potential. So I enjoyed the movie to see that. I agree with Andrew. The hockey action looks really dated here. That slow-mo kind of thing did not age well, and you could see that the guys really don't have the hockey skill to pull it off sort of realistically on screen. Yeah, and
it's distracting. It's distracting.
With all that being said, I'll give it 2.5 hockey pucks as well, but I'll go a little bit different. I don't consider this move cheesy. Because I thought what the movie does well, like I did feel like a hockey team to me. The players, the way they interacted, it felt like they had a rapport. I didn't feel, I didn't get any sort of cheese where I was like, oh my God, this is so ridiculous. Again, I hear what Andrew's saying about perhaps the writing. But, I bought into a little bit the Lowe Gibb romance, the cantankerous hockey coach. To me, Andrew, I don't know if you agree with this, it plays like a rated R TV movie of the week.
Yeah, I do agree.
You're getting a couple of curse words and a boobie, but it's kind of like you're watching Channel 7 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, like sort of that, play by numbers, a rural kid to the big city. He's got to learn how to fight, a little bit over his head. Mentor, mentor gets hurt. He's got to get revenge. We've seen it sort of a million times before, but it felt like a polished rated R TV movie of the week, like on, afternoon network sort of deal.
Yeah. Well, you bring up a great point because the fact that, that the hockey is kind of cheap and even with that, they still feel like a team. I agree with you. They do.
Yeah, like when they go to shave them.
Yeah,
and stuff like
yeah.
that.
When they're getting him drunk, so he'll be hungover the next day, and they'll. So that makes me sort of disappointed because I'd sort of rather the movie be about the team rather than Dean Youngblood. I'm more interested in the team dynamic rather than just him. Does that make sense?
Yes. And so when I reference, like if I'm referencing this versus Over the Top, which was the other 80s cheese movie that Andrew selected, at 51, watching Over the Top, I had a tough time buying into Sylvester Stallone, not as a dad, but as the truck driver. He's ripped, and I didn't buy into that. And that's because of a little bit personal bias, because I have a truck driver in my family, and believe me, he looks nothing like Sylvester Stallone. The guy doesn't have one muscle in his body. He's like a veal. I mean, you can take your finger and poke a hole through him.
Gary, he's saying that. I didn't say that.
I love my stepdad, but he didn't do one thing athletic his entire life. So, so I felt watching Youngblood, there was a believability there. It didn't come off like cheesy, like, maybe I should have watched Hot Dog, the movie, as 80 cheese, and that would have been a more apropos selection. But,
no.
I enjoyed it. Not great, but I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed watching, like, a young Patrick Swayze, a young Rob Lowe, even a young Cynthia Gibbs. You could see where they had some star-making ability in the movie.
Yeah, and I wonder why Cynthia Gibbs didn't really go much beyond this. Besides, if you look at her filmography, it's not that impressive. But
was she in Fame? Where was she?
Yeah,
what was
she was in Fame, but that was before this.
Was that the TV show, or was she in the movie?
It's a good question. I don't know which one.
I think she was in the TV show.
Yeah, I think so. But they were already kind of well known. They were all three of them were above the title in this movie. It was Rob Lowe, Patrick Swayze, and Cynthia Gibbs in Youngblood.
Right.
And they'd been in The Outsiders and I think Red Dawn at that point. So, they weren't really fresh faces, but yeah, they were definitely coming into their own. Swayze, without a doubt, only 3 or 4 years later, he'd be in Ghost. So there's a lot of great stuff here. I just wish that it could have been better written. And that would have served everything better. Cause it's really it's not a hockey movie, it's a fighting movie, and it's almost comically so. But I remember that. I remember when I was a kid, I was afraid of Racky. He was a badass. Like, I didn't want that guy anywhere near me, man. So that's effective. And this movie has taken on, I think, a cult status, which says something, about it. People know this movie.
The last thing I read about it was, I didn't put it in my notes. I could have swore I read an article about a possible reboot, and I'm just like, no.
It's been rebooted. It's been rebooted and rebooted again. I mean, this story has been told in 1,000 different ways. So, there's nothing to reboot.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. Certain movies I'm open to it.
If anything, the title and name are stupid. Like it's just it's like Kit Latura. It's like they're putting too much behind the name.
We got to do that movie at some point. We'll have to cover that movie just so I can say Kit Latura.
I would like to because that's an interesting movie to me.
All right. Well, let's just please. We got to go back to Jean.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So, all right, everybody. All right. Youngblood. As we begin to wrap it up, so to speak, Andrew, Groo, give us one thing you're watching this week.
It's tough to give you one thing I'm watching this week because I'm watching a bunch of things.
Give us your favorite. All
right. Well, I haven't mentioned it yet, but I will mention it. I am on my third go around of season 5 of Cobra Kai. But if you want something new, I am watching a show on, I think it's on Hulu, I believe, called Reboot, which is a show. Yes, I saw the trailer. Yeah, which is a show about a show. It's like about rebooting a Full House type sitcom from the 80s and 90s, rebooting it today as sort of a dark drama. It's pretty funny. Paul Reiser kind of steals the show. He's a supporting character. It's got Key of Key and Peele. I guess Keegan-Michael Key. It's got a kid. I forgot the kid's name. But basically, Johnny Knoxville is in it. He plays one of the characters on the sitcom, and it's an enjoy. I'm enjoying it so far. It's kind of like a lesser funny 30 Rock, but it's got some potential, and I'm enjoying it.
I did love 30 Rock, so that's a good recommendation.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it. Paul Reiser is really funny.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm a Paul Reiser fan.
Yes, loved him in Aliens.
Yeah, and Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2, and 4 apparently.
Okay, well, we'll bring that up another time. Andrew,
what are you watching?
What are you watching? Thank you, Andrew.
Hey, you're the straw that stirs the drink, Ev.
Andrew, I'm also on Hulu, Vice TV. I think I've told you about it before. I'm a sucker for dark side of comedy. The short form documentaries.
Love
this season. Oh man, Andrew Dice Clay.
Yep.
Artie Lang.
Roseanne Barr.
Roseanne was phenomenal. I just watched Greg Giraldo last night. Like, I came home late from this movie, from Terrifier, and then I couldn't sleep, so I stayed up and watched Greg Giraldo. But the one that got me the most was the story of Dustin Diamond. I gotta watch that. I was almost like in tears. The guy's dead. He died of cancer, and I won't give it away. I mean, obviously everyone kind of knows the name and what happened to him and his controversies, but how it ended up was really, really, really sad, and it really got to me. So they're well done. The Dark Side, typically Dark Side of the Ring, but this one, Dark Side of Comedy, super enjoyed. Really, really enjoyed them.
I'm going to watch that. Those Vice things are really good. And they got the Tales from the Territories now.
Watch the first one. That was a Mitch Hasselbein recommendation.
Yes, and the next one I think is the Kaufman Lawler Memphis territory.
Okay.
I think that's next week. So yeah, that stuff is really good. I wish there's one thing that I don't like that they do. I don't like the reenactments. It's a little distracting. They don't need it. I don't think.
I'm kind of used to them by now.
All right.
The one interesting thing I think you'll like on the Dice Clay one is they show his.
I saw the Dice one.
Oh, okay.
It's phenomenal.
I hadn't seen it, and showing the early incarnation of the Dice character, I had not seen sort of how that sort of came about. So, I agree. Enjoy Vice, the Dark Side, and the Dark Side of Comedy. really, really good. If I had to pick one, Dustin Diamond. Actually, ironically enough,
maybe I'll watch that tonight. I'm interested in that.
Let me text me tomorrow morning. I'm curious what you
will
think of it. So, all right, Groo, we'll be back in 1 month's time for our next Van Dammit podcast. We'll return back to the good old Jean-Claude. Andrew, it's 1993, and we are hard. I mean, I was hard in 1993 all the time, quite honestly. But
I was hard from Cynthia Gibbs in Youngblood, and Death Warrant. She was in Death Warrant.
Well, listen. It's 1993. I was in my prime. Andrew and I will quote chop it up on Jean-Claude Van Damme, 1993's Hard Target. Don't hunt what you can't kill. Andrew Gruthius, Jean-Claude, Hard Target.
Another Jean-Claude Van Damme movie I have not seen. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So I know nothing about it, and I don't want to know anything about it. I want to go into it completely fresh. So, looking forward to watching it and talking about it. This will be like the first one that we've done where it's not like coming back into it. It's coming off a first time, a virginal watch.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen it, but I don't remember anything about it, so I'm looking forward to it. It's funny when you were like talking, like I haven't seen, I don't want to know about it. It made me think of Beetlejuice on Howard Stern when he introduced him to Gilbert Gottfried. He's like, Beat, it's Gilbert. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. He's famous.
Yeah, I remember
I got
that.
nothing to do with it. I don't want to know nothing. I don't want to know anything about it.
And by the way,
he's like, he's famous. Goo for you. And then, of course, Gilbert's like, goo for me? Well, I hope it's goo for me, because it's goo for you. Anyway, all right,
yeah,
so,
on Nothing Worth. When we get back to Nothing Worthwhile, we got to talk. There's some stuff we got to talk about.
All right, fine. Well, then next week, Groo and I will return back to the mothership. Nothing Worthwhile as we return
what are we
to
doing
another
next week?
Well, Andrew, you mentioned it, but this one for me has gone suspiciously under the nothing radar. But tune in next week as Groo and I will slice and dice Season 5 of Cobra Kai.
Hey!
Groo, Ralph Macchio and his wig are back. Season 5, Cobra Kai.
Well, I can't really talk about it because without giving anything away. So
please don't. But
as always, one of my favorite subjects to discuss and talk about with anybody and everybody is Cobra Kai. So I am certainly very, very excited to talk about that with you, Evan, next week.
All right. Well, Andrew, that is it for our special episode.
Can I just say something though? Can I just say something?
Feel free.
I need to vent a little bit.
Go ahead.
Because as you know, there are certain topics in the Nothing Worthwhile universe that kind of creep into everything we do. They have an open invitation to come in. Let's say, Howard Stern, WWE, Bruce Springsteen, Billy Joel, things like that. So I just have to say that I was watching YouTube this afternoon after I watched Youngblood.
Strange, vague text.
One of my favorite Billy Joel songs has always been A Matter of Trust. And I just wanted to look up some recent performances of Matter of Trust to see how he's performing it. And Evan, I was so depressed. I mean, not only is he, I understand about the lower key. Okay. I get it. But he's not even fucking trying anymore. They're not, I looked at the guitar. They used to at least pretend that it's plugged in. It's not, right. They don't even do that anymore. I don't get it. And it's so frustrating. Like, why would he want, is it just like, hey, if they're gonna keep throwing money at me, I'll just walk up on stage, fart for 2 hours and they'll keep paying? Is that what it is?
I don't know if he consciously thinks that way, but I think he's a guy now with his wealth. I think he gets like helicoptered into the show. I think Del Judas does the warm up. I think he's really there for his 120 plus minutes and, get him into the golf cart and get him out of MSG and I think that's pretty much how he rolls. When you started talking about Matter of Trust, I knew exactly what you were going to say because I feel it the same way too. I got into a little bit of a mild argument with my brother because I was like, listen, I mean, I will pay. I'm not going to pay, make myself poor, but I will pay to see Bruce at this point. I will not for Billy. And then my brother was like, oh, I would pay for Billy. And I'm like, stop it.
Shit. I mean, and Bruce is coming out with a new album for Christ's sake. You know,
I like
even
Billy more. And I'm like, Andrew, what do you want to get the same show for 120 minutes? I mean, you know, Groo, I think whatever it was, what was it, the 2008 with the 12 Gardens. I mean, that was like the last real creative zenith.
Yeah, but that's
of,
not.
Billy.
But my problem is that I feel like he can do it. He's choosing not to. It's one thing. It's one thing when you got Phil Collins up there, who's literally doing the best he can with what he's got. You know, he can't even stand up anymore. Yet he's gonna power through. And you said, I didn't see it, but you saw it, and you said it was really, really good. Because he looks like he looks like he's in pain, which means he's fucking trying. Billy Joel looks like he's asleep.
The weathered vocals didn't bother me, and I was just happy to see him on stage one more time. So yes, I guess there was like some stakes there because you kind of know that he's not got too much time left on stage. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying with Billy.
He's still got the faculties to be a rock star, and he's choosing to be easy listening.
Right. And like,
anyway.
You know, again, to go back to that 12 Gardens, he opened up his songbook. So I was reading recently, I think, it was Nylon Curtain, let's say 35th anniversary. Why not just do the entire Nylon Curtain from beginning to end?
You know what? I wouldn't want him to because he's not even going to try. He doesn't even try.
Well,
he doesn't even sing He doesn't even sing the songs that we like well.
Well, I was, why not? All right. Well, I mean, you're killing my point, which would be, if he gave an effort, I would kill to see Billy do front to end Nylon Curtain and do like a 10-song greatest hits to close out the show. I'd be happy with that.
Me too, but I still, maybe it's something being there live that doesn't translate to watching it on TV, but it's like I would not want to pay to see that. Like, I was so unhappy watching that.
They brought back, the Billy Joel radio on Sirius. I mean, I haven't even listened.
I do. I listen to it because I still love Billy Joel.
I understand, but it's the same anecdotes. It's the same bits.
I don't listen to that stuff. I listen to them. I listen to the songs.
All right. Well, okay. You're better than me. Thank you.
I've always maintained that.
Well, my Sirius membership is up. I'm calling them and telling them
Well, we'll talk. Well, wait a second.
They'll make me. Hopefully, they'll cut me a deal because at $330 for a year, I'm not doing it. If they gave me a deal like $115, like they did last year, so I'll do that. Because I still enjoy some of the channels and things.
Well, we'll talk about Howard's return next time.
All right, fine. I'll chop it up on good old Howie. So
yeah. So
well,
all right.
Andrew,
so you want me to take us home?
Yeah. I mean, sure.
All right.
Remember, we close out with no retreat, no surrender.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But so, ladies and gentlemen, it's been the honor and privilege of myself and Mr. Evan Moody to take you by the hands or by the stick and drag you through this walk down or this ice skating ride down memory lane to the land of Youngblood. Next week, we return to Nothing Worthwhile, where we discuss Cobra Kai as the song Kung Fu Fighting plays. Doesn't quite make sense, but Next week is season 5 of Cobra Kai. And we've got some more Nothing Worthwhile coming up, and then a month from now we got Van Damme at Hard Target. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, from us to you, 1, 2, 3, no retreat.
No retreat.
And no, well, we fucked it up.
Get Moody, yeah.
See you next time, everybody.
All right, take care, everybody. Noxucal.
Quack, quack.
Quack.